2:30 p.m. in the South China Sea, tension hung thick in the air. A Chinese Z-10 attack helicopter edged closer to an American MH-60 Romeo, clearly aiming to intimidate. But the maneuver, meant to project power, revealed something Beijing didn't intend: a rare window for the U.S. The Romeo wasn't just patrolling, it was on a calculated mission to track a Chinese Type 039 Yuan-class submarine operating discreetly in the region. Unlike nuclear subs that can hide underwater for months, this diesel-powered vessel had to surface every 48 hours to recharge its batteries, creating a brief but critical moment when it emitted heat, noise, and signals detectable from miles away. As the Z-10 hovered menacingly, the MH-60 Romeo flew precise patterns, releasing sonar buoys and cross-checking data with satellites and patrol aircraft. Capturing the submarine's acoustic signature during this window could give the U.S. a permanent tracking advantage over China's entire fleet of that type. In that delicate balance of power, what looked like a routine aerial encounter was anything but. It was the opening move in a dangerous chess game over one of Beijing's most valuable assets. As the MH-60 Romeo hovered over international waters, a voice crackled over the radio, an urgent warning from the Chinese pilot, claiming the American helicopter was violating Chinese airspace. On the surface, it sounded like a threat, but in reality, the Romeo was hundreds of miles from the Chinese coastline, safely in international territory. The warning was little more than a theatrical bluff, an attempt at psychological pressure. Meanwhile, the American crew stayed focused on their mission, methodically gathering data on the submarine below. Each ping of the sonar, every buoy dropped into the water, was part of a delicate operation designed to record the diesel sub's acoustic signature during its brief recharge. Success here would mean the United States could track not just this one vessel, but potentially the entire fleet of the same class, turning a routine patrol into a strategic advantage that could shape future naval encounters. While Beijing's pilot tried to intimidate, he was unknowingly playing into a carefully laid trap, one where every move, every radio frequency, and every signal could be captured and stored for later use. The Chinese Z-10 didn't hold back. Sliding alongside the MH-60 Romeo, cutting across its cockpit, and tilting to showcase its anti-tank missiles, the helicopter put on a dramatic display of power. Flares erupted from its sides, lighting up the sky like fireworks. But instead of intimidating the Americans, each burst exposed more of the Z-10's vulnerabilities. Every flare amplified the helicopter's thermal signature, feeding the Romeo's sensors with invaluable data. What looked like aggression on the surface was, in fact, a gift to U.S. intelligence. The American crew remained calm, silently recording the Z-10's every move, its radio frequencies, communication protocols, radar signals, and even the subtle vibrations of its engines. These small details, seemingly insignificant in the moment, were building a comprehensive profile of the helicopter's capabilities and weaknesses. The show of force, intended to assert dominance, was backfiring spectacularly, turning a confident display into a revealing blueprint for the United States. While the Z-10 put on a dramatic display, the MH-60 Romeo had its own secret arsenal. Electronic support pods quietly scanning and recording every detail emitted by the Chinese helicopter. As the Z-10 maneuvered aggressively, American sensors absorbed its radar patterns, radio chatter, engine harmonics, and even the subtle vibrations that created a unique acoustic fingerprint. Then came the pivotal move. The Romeo lowered its dipping sonar into the water, sending precise sound pulses down to the submarine below. Inside the Type 039, alarms blared, and the crew scrambled for an emergency dive. But in their rush, they left behind a trail of cavitation, bubbles and turbulence that revealed their exact position to the surrounding U.S. fleet. What was meant to intimidate ended up exposing one of China's most valuable assets in real time. Every aggressive action by the Z-10, just when the Chinese pilot thought he might gain the upper hand, the battlefield shifted in an instant. The EA-18G Growler appeared on the horizon, a fighter designed not to engage with missiles or guns, but to dominate the electromagnetic spectrum. Equipped with AENLQ-99 pods, it projected beams capable of disrupting radar, communications, and defense systems with surgical precision. Suddenly, the Z-10's radar screen went haywire. The single target it had locked onto multiplied into a dozen ghost contacts, some moving backward, others vanishing and reappearing impossibly. It was as if the helicopter had entered a digital funhouse, unable to distinguish reality from illusion. While the Z-10 scrambled to react, the Romeo remained perfectly shielded, continuing its mission unhindered. What had begun as a tense confrontation became a vivid demonstration of technological supremacy. The Americans weren't just defending. They were showing the cost of overconfidence in the electronic age. Every moment of disorientation added to the intelligence gathering, revealing how far the Z-10 fell short in the face of modern electronic warfare. Frustrated by the electronic chaos, the Chinese pilot turned to physical intimidation. The Z-10 pressed closer, attempting sharp turns and sudden climbs to rattle the MH-60 Romeo. But the helicopter wasn't built for that level of strain. With each aggressive maneuver, it lost energy, struggled to maintain lift, and its engines began to overheat. The Romeo's advanced FLIR thermal cameras captured every detail, recording a perfect infrared trail, exactly the kind of signature a heat-seeking missile would follow in a real combat scenario. What had started as an attempt to assert dominance became yet another gift to American intelligence. Every desperate move exposed vulnerabilities: limited turn rate, weaker lift capacity, and excessive heat output. The Z-10, meant to intimidate, was instead providing the U.S. with a complete record of how to exploit its weaknesses. In the struggle to gain respect, Beijing had unknowingly handed its adversary a detailed instruction manual on defeating its own main attack helicopter. By the end of the 72-minute encounter, the Z-10 had done far more than fail to intimidate. It had delivered a treasure trove of intelligence. Every flare, every aggressive maneuver, every attempt at domination fed the U.S. databases, building a complete dossier on the helicopter's vulnerabilities. Thermal signatures, radar patterns, engine performance, and electronic systems were all cataloged in real time. What Beijing had hoped would be a show of strength had turned into a masterclass in how the aircraft could be defeated with precision. The Americans now held what was effectively an instruction manual, a detailed map of weaknesses, from lift limitations to electronic blind spots. In just over an hour, an